let's roll some more of this tape. Hell no, I'm not afraid to dress up. All right, hang on a sec. You guys are not getting. Oh, I have to send them here. All right, let me figure out. I see what's going on. I can't send them there and then send it to. That's why Stephanie was getting an echo, I think. Okay, hang on a sec. Let me see what I can do about that. I'm gonna use that one. It's a little weird because then it's like coming. Oh, it's coming out and it's coming back in. All right, let me do this. Let me send this out there. All right, that should be better.
That fulfillment of seeing yourself. I mean, feeling in the right body. And actually, Rebekah. I mean, I've heard many points of view about that discussion, but I have a feeling. I followed for some years. There are lots of testimonies of transsexual people talking about dysphoria and how great it was to transition, and that impressed me a lot. I can understand that it's a very complicated thing. I mean, we are complicated, and if we start to hear to try to be happy, to set to create a path in a world where there wasn't one, there'll be mistakes, there'll be things that won't go perfectly, but I don't think it's reason enough to start questioning the identity of people that I mean, if I think the majority of people that would go that way is because they feel it inside. It's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to put that much weight on what could be go wrong. I think it's a lot more important that the majority of people that would identify as trans, they know what they're talking about. They're talking about themselves. It's not what
right.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, I thought this comment kind of goes along with what you're saying. Titan Uranus says it has also been much. My internet might be going bad. Okay. It must be. It has also been a much higher number than dared admit it, because they would be castrated, imprisoned, and killed in the U.S. through the 1950s. Pretending there are more now is a denial of horror.
Titan Uranus always coming through with boss level commentary, and I don't know how Titan Uranus still gets by Rebekah's filter. I think Titan is I don't know. It just is what it is. But I always love Titan's comments. But yeah, this is a big part of the problem, and to be honest, it's still a huge part of the problem because. When I was growing up, wasn't a particularly safe time to come out as gay or trans or any of that good stuff. And I still think that the hurdles that you see presented to you, the legal efforts, look, hate. Gang, I wish I could really put in words the effect having a marked identity has on you, but when you have an identity that the world hates. You see the messaging, and I just think we're still getting a gross underestimate of how many people in our population this really applies to, because it's still not safe. It's still not okay. It's still too hard. And that's why I say I'm afraid of, who's not trans, right? I'm afraid of who we haven't identified on the LGBTQ spectrum, and that's why, because I feel like in my heart, like there has to be a significant number of there's too many people that are still in the closet, and there are people who absolutely know that they should transition, and they're not going to because of all this bullshit.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if as things become more and more restrictive, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a decrease in the number of people who do transition, because one of the major faults of the rapid onset gender dysphoria thesis was it's become more socially acceptable. It's become more, when was the transgender tipping point in the cover of Time magazine? 2015. And since it's been nothing more than a ramping up of anti-trans rhetoric to the point that where we're at now, with state after state after state and various governments doing nasty things,
And honestly,
as regards trans people. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a decrease in the number of people that are willing and able to.
Also, Stephanie, trans is COVID right now. I have not seen this level of everyday coverage of an issue affecting us since the pandemic. Right? It's every single day there's something else about this issue, and it's scary. I'm like it gets more coverage these days than the freaking war. It's like, oh, by the way, there's a war, but let's talk about Target. And did you hear that conservatives are now trying to cancel Chick-fil-A? And like, I literally, it's crazy.
Really stupid.
It's crazy the amount of coverage that this issue, and it forces it, right? Because just like during the pandemic, when the people start with the denials, with the misinformation, with the gaslighting, well, you can't just not respond. And so it's just this runaway train we're all on now, right? And I don't know how to get off of it, because that seems like actually the only thing you're not supposed to do somehow. I don't know. That's the part that baffles me. But it is worth discussing the outsized coverage, because it's just, to me, that's an issue in and of itself now. I don't even know if we have a path. Because see, the most issues like that, there's something. With COVID, there's supposed to be a benchmark, right? And you see them rush towards it, where they could say the pandemic's over, drop the mask. Yeah, okay, the numbers are still there, but we've reached that point where we can move on and talk about other things. Wars end, debt ceiling deals get done. What the fuck are we doing about this? I mean,
Jay, on a deeper level, as long as gayness, as long as being lesbian, as long as being bisexual, as long as being trans is viewed as a malady to be cured, in the same sense as COVID is. Like, as long as we're medicalized, as long as we're perceived as a disease on the human body and the body politic, as long as people are using the phrase elimination
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
in major political venues, as long as we are perceived as vermin to be exterminated.
Yeah.
You know, I really hesitate to say, "Oh, it's like COVID now," because
I meant,
it's
I just
not
meant
like COVID now.
I just meant in the way that it's what you hear in the coverage every day.
Well, that's
because yes.
there's a reason for that.
But yeah, you're right. No,
They
I'm sorry.
want
I
it to be
shouldn't have
viewed
misspoke.
that
Yeah.
way. They
Yeah,
want
yeah.
it to be viewed that way. They want it to be.
You're 100%
They want Target not to have gay trans merchandise or make any reference to it, because why? Because it will infect our daughters.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm feeling like it is like racism and misogyny, where we need to just prepare for the fact that this is going to be on the table every day forever, right? Because their prejudice, the prejudice isn't going anywhere. The efforts, so it would almost, the worst thing we could do now would be whatever the equivalent to the colorblind society movement was, right? Where we put the conversation on the back burner, we act like we don't see it, and then we're not starting to have the conversation again until far too much damage has been done. But yeah, I appreciate that stuff. I guess for me, like it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there's a certain. Yeah, I don't know. Things are escalating, right? And so, to be honest, I think it's appropriate for our alarm to escalate, because things are really scary right now. Which is why I find it so problematic that Christians are going to try to join in on the celebration of Pride Month.
Oh yeah, I mean, I Pride is you get Christians who want to join in the celebration of Pride Month had better do something more than just put up a rainbow flag or the inclusive flag or something like that. They should do more than that. They shouldn't do what Rebekah's doing, which is to say, repeating these pathologizing talking points.
Right.
I mean, that's the exact antithesis of, she says she's doing this out of Christian love, and yet she's there repeating this nonsense.
Yes.
You can't have it both ways. We're either people or we're not. And, sorry, Rebekah, you can't do it like that.
Yeah, and
you can't just sit there and be namby-pamby. Oh, God just loves everyone in his family, and we're all siblings and brothers and sisters in the eyes of Jeebus. You can't do that bullshit if you're sitting there saying, but I have concerns.
Right. 100%. All right, Steph, let's see what else they got for us.
And again, I think this is a reason for Christians to celebrate Pride Month, because we are celebrating the fact that people no longer have to hide, that people no longer have to just fear for their lives. I mean, this is something, there's a history there that we should be ashamed of. And even that some Christians have participated in, of disdaining gay and trans people. And so, it's it is the least that we can do to show our repentance for showing such disdain, to show solidarity and celebrate Pride Month.
Thank you. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Also, gang,
Yeah,
Stephanie's live. Make sure you give her a follow, and the link is down in the description. Make sure you give her a like and a sub. Appreciate it.
So I'm looking to see if and Titan Uranus also said detransitioners are a tiny minority, and more than half detransition due to social pressure. Many retransition again later. What you said is literal misinformation. Okay, well, thank you for sharing your perspective. I still,
Gang, I have the best mods on the world. I don't know how I got to have such incredible mods and a whole, literally a whole gang of them. And you know, people get the wrench now when they get the wrench. But Titan Uranus is one person I'm actually like trying to recruit. You know.
Titan Uranus, best mod ever.
Like, yeah, I'm like, you know, our team doesn't have any weaknesses, but we could always use a couple other strong players. You know what I mean? Like, Titan's great.
I'll have the concern because I have listened to quite a lot of detransition stories, but it doesn't mean that I fully support trans people, and I believe that, you know, people who are identifying as trans, like, I'm gonna believe them. I'm not gonna say, no, you're not really trans.
You just fucking did.
But at the same time, I'm like,
Exactly.
I am concerned that there is something else that may be going on in some cases.
What again? This is the out, right? The both sides of your talking out of both sides of your mouth, and this to me is the most dangerous form of Christianity. It's the Christianity that doesn't stand for anything. It is so determined to just be a blank canvas of projection about this vanilla love for everybody, and it's awful. It's awful because it allows people to overlook the indoctrination that's right in front of their face. This is just very difficult to watch.
She literally, when I joined the stream, she literally, just before I joined the stream and when I first started watching this, she literally said that I'm not really sure that all of these new people who are saying they're trans are actually trans. So you want to be the judge of that, lady? And yet you're sitting here saying, oh, well, no, I believe everybody who says they're trans. But you don't. You fucking well don't, because you fucking well just said, I don't believe. This coterie of people are trans.
And I accept that there's trans people out there, but I do have some other concerns if I hear that. But then you're not understanding that there's trans people out there, because if you understand there's trans people out there, there's nothing else to be concerned about. I mean, this is because she can't. She's very well aware of the bigotries. Gang, I lost interest in Rebekah Davis, but this is why. This isn't going anywhere. You're just running around in circles, tail chasing. This is all of Rebekah Davis' stream is. Rebekah
Bond
chasing her
official
tail.
says, I like Andre. Good. So now B.S. Lewis put this comment. He says, Bread of Life, why are you lax on the man-woman portion of Jesus's words, but not the one-and-one portion regarding polygamy? Well, actually, you know, there's, I think it's, what do I want to say to this? I would actually like to turn this around and say, Christians who are strongly opposed to gay marriage, consider that throughout the Old Testament, God never said anything about polygamy. God never told people that you can't have more than one wife. And some people had many wives,
Hagar,
and we still regarded them as men of God. David had a ridiculous number of wives. No Christian today would ever tolerate a man having that many wives, but we read David's words and we say, this is scripture. And we read David's words and we say, this is a man of God. Now, if we can look at David as a man of God, a man who clearly was not anywhere close to God's ideal, right? With regard to his sexuality, he was nowhere close to being God's ideal. Well, then, you know, why
Dave is
can't
the
you
worst
look at a
example.
gay married couple living in a covenanted bond for life, and who, I mean, they're committed to each other in love and faithfulness? Why can't you look at that gay married couple and say, God, these are people of God? So that's what I would say to that. And so, but why am I lax on the man-woman portion of Jesus' words, but not the one-on-one portion? Well, I am lax, actually, because I don't believe in polygamy. I don't support polygamy. But, you know, there are Christians in the world who have more than one wife. And I'm not going to be the one to go to them and say,
there's just,
you need to
it
get
doesn't
rid of
matter.
these wives.
As long as you
Because,
believe in Jesus, it just doesn't
they
matter.
may have been, that's how they were raised. Maybe they became a Christian after they had all those wives. So am I now going to tell
so
them
Warren Jess is A-okay with
well,
Rebekah.
Which wife gets kicked out? You know, so there are Christians in the world who have more than one wife, and I'm not saying anything to them about
She
that.
doesn't take a stance about anything.
Yeah, you know, how do you feel about misogyny, Rebekah? I don't know.
Well, what are your other thoughts, Andre?
I'm very happy about you. I mean, I'm thankful that you doing that stream. I think it's very graceful of you. Thank you so much for your support. As a gay person, I mean, I do believe we still have to change that traditional opinion that it still exists a very big resistance to gay young people as they are growing up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's about their parents having a place in their heart for accepting, for understanding that.
Oh my goodness!
And all the.
We might need justice for Maya. This is perfect. This is perfect. Trump has had a lot of wives. Christians don't care about what people do, just what they're willing to do for them. That is putting it so well. That is putting it so well. Unbelievable.
Coming out process to go well. And I think mainly in America, perhaps, the church plays such an important role. And
there it is, Kata.
It's important to discuss it, to explain what's going on, to reach out for those people. That's what I said about youth and the Pride Parade here in Germany. It was great.
And Andre, like, I mean, this is just, again, I feel like I am watching somebody who was told, yeah, you know, this group wouldn't let me play on their basketball team because I was black, but I still support this group. This narrative about the all-consuming love of Jesus is, again, putting people in a place where they are so emotionally offset by all of this that they're not able to stick up for themselves. They're literally not able to recognize this group is not for people like me. I don't need this. I don't belong here. I can do better. Yes, I can even do better all by myself. And again, it's like I didn't see it either, right? Like, again, I really feel like a great moral failing of mine is not leaving Christianity because of its bigotry towards LGBTQ people. That one issue alone is enough to leave Christianity because it makes you part of a hate group. But it's even more painful to watch people with that identity who just haven't been able to break free of it. You know, Andre seems like a perfectly reasonable guy, aside from his faith. It just would be nice if he brought that perspective to the side that's trying to get rid of this religious nonsense. And it's the same thing. It's the same way I feel about black Christians. Like they're just carrying water for the other side.
And young people celebrating themselves. That's all about it. I wish them not to suffer through the things I mean that my generation went through. That doesn't have to happen anymore.
Yes, exactly. And you know, I really do feel for Christians, and if there's any you know, people who have been raised in a very conservative Christian church, and maybe you've been afraid to tell anyone that you're gay or afraid to tell anyone that you're trans, you know, there are Christian organizations that can help you. There's a beautiful organization called the Reformation Project, and it is for reforming the church, to help the church to become affirming. And they are evangelical Christians. They're very biblically based. So it is not, you know, going away from traditional Christianity. It's just reconsidering the position that traditional Christianity has had with regard to gay people. So, you know, there are, if, you know, any gay Christians who are still in the closet happen to be watching this, then please consider going and, you know, looking at the Reformation Project. And there's people who have written books, you know, God and the Gay Christian by Matthew Vines. Justin Lee wrote Torn. There's lots of Christians who've had the experience that you're having. I just listened to beautiful testimony from...
The United Methodist Church is swiftly becoming disunited right now. It's getting a messy divorce. Congregations all across the country are petitioning to separate from the United Methodist Church on the basis of a fairly mild endorsement of love the sin, hate, love this, love the sinner, hate the sin sort of approach to this whole thing. There are affirming congregations. There's still in the discipline of the United Methodist Church at the moment is you can't celebrate gay marriage in a church or have any, you know, you can't have your reception there. There are, in fact, affirming congregations. There's a pastor in Florida who celebrated, who consecrated a gay marriage within the Methodist Church. And that's changing within the United Methodist Church. But the congregation, there's a slew of congregations that are not even willing to put up with even the mildest affirmation of gay life, of gay humanity, of being full and total participants in the story of humanity. So, you know, so in the immortal words of Uncle Bobby, Rebekah, go fuck yourself. You know, you're not paying attention to what's happening in the church. What's happening in Uganda? Gay people are being put to death. What's happening in Florida? Trans people are being forced. Adult trans people can't get their fucking medication, so they're being forced to go through an early menopause.
Wow.
They're not there, and trans children can't get any treatment whatsoever, any kind of affirming treatment whatsoever, in one of the most populous states in the nation. So, Rebekah, kindly, if you're gonna be spouting this bullshit about how you are personally supporting, then fucking show me how.
Right.
Don't just sit there and mouth these pleasantries. I do know people, religious people, very religious people, some of them in my family, who are on the front lines, who are speaking out and are doing things to support gay people, to support trans people, to support their fucking trans aunt. And so, you know, I know that there are Christians out there who break with the faith,
right,
or at least rejigger or reinterpret the faith to be inclusive of people just simply trying to live their lives as human beings. So, but Rebekah ain't one of them, and her little show on YouTube with her little flag there ain't cutting the mustard for me. You either get out and speak firmly about the fact that trans people and gay people are fully human. They are not a disease. They are not something that you need to be concerned about when you see more people coming out, because society is more and more recognizing of the fullness and uniqueness and beauty of their humanity. You don't get to sit there and question that stuff at the same time you're waving a pride flag.
Absolutely.
That is fucking hypocrisy.
Garbage. Absolute
It's fucking
garbage.
hypocrisy, and it's basically all you're doing here is making yourself feel good when you don't deserve it.
Yes, I agree, and that's the hunt, and that's the goal of this. And she won't take a stand, because again, even on her best day, her thing is all of this is like, she even said this, being homosexual, and maybe she said something about being trans isn't a sin, but acting on it, right, but then it's this mental gymnastics of, if you were a gay or trans person in a vacuum in your room by yourself, where it didn't involve, transing or being gay in relationship to another human being, then that'd be fine. Like, it's absurd. And they even I wanted to touch on even what you talked about at the beginning, because for those of us that are former believers, just think about, for somebody like Andre, you face the devastation of being rejected in your effort to become part of the priesthood, but then you set that aside. You say, yeah, they wouldn't let me join the priesthood because I'm gay, but I'm going to stick this Christian thing out, and then literally you fall in love, decide you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, and they deny you a church wedding, which sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but think about people who really wanted to get married their whole life, and they've known that most of their life. They've fantasized about what? Having a church wedding and having their church community there to celebrate their relationship and all this stuff. And it's like, nah, you got to go to the catering hall for the, outsiders or whatever, because we can't actually authorize your ceremony here or whatever. It's just it's the small slights like that are just deeply hurtful, the type of thing people never really quite forget or get over.
Yeah, and and the church is actively saying, well, homosexuality, transgenderism, which is not a thing,
awful.
is a threat to the family. Meanwhile, they are taking away from gay people, trans people, the ability to belong to the human family, and to raise their families within the culture, within their culture. You're not part of our culture. Go away.
Right.
We want to eradicate you and your lifestyle and your family and your whole friggin' thing. So how you've got a lot of goddamn nerve saying that we are trying to destroy the family when you won't let us have that privilege. You won't let us be a part of your family. You won't let us have families of our own, even if they're intentional. You're jiggering the laws to break up our family. You're jiggering the laws to break up us as part of the human family. We're just people who experience our human life differently than you do. And you're just so stuck on yourselves and your little Jesus guy and your little whatever.
Your little Jesus guy.
And your little whatever.
Right.
That you can't see beyond your own self, and you can't show any empathy whatsoever.
I'm at a place with these people where I don't know if Jesus leads to their bigotries or their bigotries lead them to Jesus, but they're becoming one and the same at this point for me. Because it's hard to think of a non-prejudicial reason why these people hang on to these ideology, right? At the end of the day, their whole ideology is about them being special, them being chosen, them being better, them getting to live forever. And the sidecar to all of that is sort of the named oppressions of, you know, racism, homophobia, misogyny, and we go on down the list of historic social atrocities. It's just, you know, it seems like the cruelty is the point, right? And that's why it's hard to tell where the faith starts and stops vis-a-vis the bigotry. All part of the same fucked up ass package.
The guy,
we are almost done with this
shit. He had a band called Tim Be Told, and actually I think he still does. Tim Be Told. And he was raised in a, you know, conservative Christian environment, and for a long time he never admitted to anyone that he was gay. He was celibate as a Christian for many years, and when he finally came out as gay, his church had a major problem with that, and it was just it was a very hard time. But I'm thankful he's still a Christian. He still loves the Lord, and so there's many Christians who have been through what he's gone through. So, you know, you're not alone.
Bet he's not going to that church anymore, though, hon.
And it counts, you know, your stream counts to stand up, to go there, to carry the flag. It's so important. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you.
No,
I've said to you, I feel like I'm a sheep of your flock. I like to be here. I like your channel. I really like what you do.
Thank you, Andre. Well, I like you too, and I think you're a great example of what Christian love looks like, because, you know, it's clear to me you have the love of God in your heart for people, and I hope that Christians who are watching this, who may be non-affirming, will see the Holy Spirit working in your life and reconsider their thoughts on this. But you know, I think it is a really tough topic to wrestle with. But anyway, I hope that I've given Christians, non-affirming Christians, some good reasons to support Pride Month. And yeah, thank you for coming on, Andre. This has been great. And I guess we can kind of end the stream with just
yes.
That's why I thanks everyone for being here.
Wave the fucking flag.
Awful. Just one last insult before we go. You know, like it's kind of nauseating watching an evangelical Christian wave a pride flag. It's pretty triggering. Yeah.
You know, it's just, you say what you say with a great big smile, and then you say these other awful things that just betray a complete misunderstanding of what any of this is all about. And you know, it's a nice little gloss, and it's just it's kind of like corporate pride. Sort of like, I can get away with this and show I'm not one of the horrible people that wants you to be exterminated. I just don't want to see so many of you, you know. It's like, fuck you, lady.
Right.
You know, give me a break.
And really, she just feeds into that mindset of demonizing this. She reminds me of the type of Christians who I literally feel treat the issue as though having a child who turns out to be LGBTQ is the worst thing that can happen ... to them, right? And to me, there's just she's not ready to have that conversation. And like you said, that's troubling about not bringing on people who don't share her faith, because people who don't share her faith are going to be quick to point out that people of her faith are the goddamn problem. again, they're the reason we have to have a Pride Month, is because we have to remind people that we support them and love them in spite of the fact of the oppression and struggle that they're enduring at the hands mostly of Christians in our country. But yeah, Steph, it's game time. We're late to the game. We got into this thing. Somebody sent it to me, so I decided to address this because it's just ridiculousness off the top. But you got any concluding thoughts here, Steph?
Not really. I think I've said everything I feel need to be said about Rebekah. I'm glad I caught it, because it is just holy shit. Really, I appreciate that she's not a fully hostile person, towards people, but she's not really. She just doesn't get it.
Right.
And she associates, the people she associates with, as far as I can tell, are hostile. Actually hostile towards gay people, towards and that's not helpful either, because she's all too willing to agree with, I agree with this sentiment with people who think that we're a problem in some way or another. So that's, it's just not, it's not support. And it gives the illusion of the two-sidedness of the whole thing. And there aren't two sides to this. You're either thinking of us as fully human, deserving of everything you have, marriage, medical care, all of these things. You can't go halfway on this kind of drill and say, and set yourself up as an arbiter as to who is and who is not genuinely trans, or who is not genuinely, this, that, or the other thing. It's like, you can have your opinions, but keep them to your fucking self and don't legislate it.
Right. And I don't think she's willing to lift a finger to work against that.
Right.
And it's a problem. But you did make a good point. It is good that she's not advocating outright for the oppression of the LGBT community, but it's problematic that she's basically asking them to sit down with the people who are. And again, even on her best day, she wants to tell them that she accepts them, but then have the conversation about sin and lifestyle and it's not going. So she's representing a spectrum, and all of the spectrum is on the wrong side of problematic. Yeah.
We're not broken.
Right.
We don't need to be fixed. We might have troubles.
Right.
And the troubles need to be addressed. But we're not broken as people. We don't need fixing.
Right. And you don't need to be told that. You certainly don't need to be told, and this is why it's a catch-22, because you don't need to be sorry, this is why it's fucked up on both sides, because you don't need to be told that you're broken because you're LGBTQ. Right. But then even if she were to set that particular problem aside, she'd want to basically tell you you're broken as a human being, just like she is, right? So then we need to get into that. Exactly. And you don't need that either.
Exactly.
So there's really nothing for your benefit here.
There's no way out of it from the point of view of Christianity that views all of humankind to be broken from the get, right?
Right.
Because of because Adam's old lady ate an apple at the behest of a talking snake. You're gonna believe that, and that's why humanity's fucked up. Then
And this is why privilege and hierarchy come into play here, because I literally feel, and I joke about it, but it is a genuine feeling that sometimes certain people, it feels like they're privileged enough that, hey, a little recreational persecution from time to time, you know, might be acceptable. Like, you know, hey, don't get too high on yourself. You know, your shit stinks too. You're a little broken. You know, you're not the bee's knees. Okay, that might be
That's fine.
helpful if you're maybe at the top of the hierarchy and everything just seems to be a little bit too good. But people who are marginalized in any way, shape, or form don't need help feeling marginalized. We don't. You're not benefiting us and telling us we're fucked up. Like, I don't need you to tell me, well, I'm not necessarily fucked up because I'm black, but I have a kind of being born as a human being problem that really needs to be taken care of. Like, it's just not like you're not helping. So yeah, I just the whole thing again, like the idea of having a Lord and Master, it's all really fucked up. And I just think with the conversations that we're trying to have, especially around intersectionality, it's really hard to advocate that people need this message. I don't see that. But yeah, let's go watch some basketball. Fuck this shit.
This is garbage. Let's have some fun.
Let's go have some fun. Gang, love you. Appreciate everybody coming through. We'll see you next time. Have some fun and I don't know, stop being a Christian.
And listen to me, I'm sick of it. I'm taking the gloves off. You quit preaching heresy.
As you can see, we've had our eye on you for some time now, Mr. Anderson.
I don't believe for 1 second that I am the only one smart enough to pick up the Bible and figure out that we're not supposed to mourn when homosexuals die.
One of these lives has a future, and one of them does not.
So what? So what?
So let's just do a quick check. Let's make sure that none of our Bibles have been tampered with.
I just take pleasure in their death. God has darkened their heart and blinded their eyes. Look, if God darkens your heart and blinds your eyes, you can't believe. You can't believe. Washing our feet in the blood of the wicked in the New Testament. I'm starting to just realize the uncomfortable truth. Who here really struggles hard to be a homo? I mean, it's really hard. And you know what? These people are going to be burning in hell for all eternity. The victory is theirs. It's not ours. They've already won. We've already lost. It's already been written. We've already read the last chapter. And we know